afternoon, you're watching NDTV Profit and I'm Sanjana. Welcome to Independence Week special coverage, but this afternoon's coverage will focus on the long-awaited Centre's GST 2.0 proposal that has now been sent to a group of ministers led by Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary. Now, this is not a reaction to US tariffs or geopolitics before you think about that. It's part of a reform drive that's been in motion since 2022. The idea? Simplify tax slabs, rationalize rates, speed up refunds, and cut compliance headaches for millions of businesses. With the compensation cess regime ending and the GST Council likely to meet in September or October to take up the GOM report, the Centre hopes the rejig can be rolled out by Q3, in line with Prime Minister Modi's Independence Day announcement. Let's listen into what he had to say.
इस दिवाली में आपकी डबल दिवाली का काम मैं करने वाला हूं। इस दिवाली में आपको एक बहुत बड़ा तोहफा देशवासियों को मिलने वाला है। पिछले 8 साल से हमने जीएसटी का बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म किया। पूरे देश में टैक्स के बर्डन को कम किया, टैक्स की व्यवस्थाओं को सरल किया और 8 साल के बाद समय की मांग है कि हम एक बार उसको रिव्यू करें। हमने एक हाई पावर कमेटी को बिठा करके रिव्यू शुरू किया, राज्यों से भी विचार विमर्श किया और मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, हम नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म्स लेकर के आ रहे हैं। ये दिवाली के अंदर आपके लिए तोहफा बन जाएंगे। सामान्य मानवीय की जरूरतों के टैक्स भारी मात्रा में कम कर दिए जाएंगे। बहुत बड़ी सुविधा बढ़ेगी। हमारे एमएसएमई, हमारे लघु उद्यमी, इनको बहुत बड़ा लाभ मिलेगा। रोजमर्रा की चीजें बहुत सस्ती हो जाएगी और उससे इकोनॉमी को भी एक नया बल मिलने वाला है।
There you heard it from the Prime Minister yesterday. So what will GST 2.0 really mean for businesses, taxpayers and India's fight against fraud? To decode this, I'm joined by Devendra Pant, Chief Economist and Head of Public Finance at India Ratings and Research, and Rajat Bose. But before I go to them and before I get in their expert insight and analysis, I'm going to go across to my colleague Shrimi, who has all of the details. Shrimi, over to you.
Well, following the PM speech and push on the GST reform, the Finance Ministry has put out a blueprint suggesting 3 key pillars on the GST 2.0. Number 1, the structural reforms. The second important is rate reduction. And the third important is the ease of living and ease of compliance. Now, first up is, of course, the rate reduction. What central government is pushing at this point is to move towards 2-slab GST structure. Now, this is the deviation from the earlier discussion of moving towards 3-slab structure from the existing GST structure, which we have 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. And in fact, now Finance Ministry is saying to move towards 2-slab to have one standard rates and second one is the merit rate. And some items will have, some select items will have these special rates. Now, this is coming at a time when, of course, the government aiming to boost consumption. And this kind of measure may boost consumption. The second important aspect which Finmin is highlighting at this point on the structural reforms with respect to correcting the inverted duty structure. Now, this is something that has been, a pain point for industry as far as input tax credit is concerned. A lot of litigation around it, and that's why with structural reform, the government is trying to address that bit as well. And the third important aspect is ease of living and ease of compliance, and where the government pushed towards having more, technology-driven kind of registration, more automated refunds, pre-filled GST in line with pre-filled income tax returns. So all those measures are clearly there to kind of push GST 2.0. And in fact, and I would like to quote here also that the Finance Ministry clearly underlining the fact that the initiative, the whole blueprint of GST 2.0 is rooted in cooperative federalism. Of course, they are hinting and implying that whatever the decision would be taken will be with the consensus with all these states. And in fact, sources hinting at that the GST Council meeting, which is expected next month in September, they are going to take up this matter, and maybe we will see some major decision on the GST reform.
Absolutely, Shrimi. Thanks so much for breaking that up so comprehensively. And to decode this, I'm joined by Devendra Pant, Chief Economist and Head of Public Finance at India Ratings and Research, and Rajat, Bose, partner at Shardul, Amarchand, Mangaldas and Co. Good afternoon to the both of you. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to NDTV Profit. Devendra, to begin with, how will the new proposed rate rationalization impact the everyday consumer, particularly the middle income groups who really form the backbone of India's economy?
Yeah, so Sanjana, if you look at it, I think if you look at 12 and 18% tax slab, they contribute roughly around 20% to the overall GST tax collection. Now, if those taxes on those goes down, say around 5% or 6%, whatever the GST Council decides, there will be a big relief to the consumer. But the major issue we are looking at is so both center and state governments tax collections are going to go down. This year we have seen the direct tax collection is slowing down, or the growth in direct tax collection is much lower than what was budgeted for. Indirect also now touching closer to what was the budgeted. Now this will be another hit to the fiscal or the revenue collection of the center and state, and how governments are, both center and state governments are going to bridge that gap. So yes, it will be for consumers, it will be a win-win. And what all the simplification, although the tax system which is simplified, reduces transaction costs, reduces compliance costs, is ultimately benefits both consumer as well as producers.
Okay, Rajat, with a group of ministers now led by Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary that's driving this proposal, do you see this reform gaining more consensus, political or otherwise, compared to past attempts?
I would believe so. And I think more or less the states are also aligned on the fact that these reforms are much needed. So yes, I think that there would be more or less a consensus on these reforms going forward. In the past, there has been issues because some states probably were not on board with the rate reduction or the rate rationalizations. But going forward, I think that there would be much more consensus on this.
Okay, so the timings, I think, are clear, but what's the lived reality for businesses and taxpayers? That's something we need to address. Devendra ji, will the rate rationalization truly lighten the compliance burden for MSMEs, for smaller taxpayers? Or do you think that there could be new costs and challenges during the transition period, and what would that potentially look like?
Look, Sanjana, it is anything you do the simplification, any simplification. You remember when we used to file the tax, our income tax return, say 3 decades back or so, used to be complicated. You reduce the different slabs, you compress those into a couple of 2 or 3. Then you have those all the exemptions and are going away. So the income tax has been much more simplified. The same goes with the GST or any other taxation. You improve you do the simplification, it will benefit, and any single rupee saved on the transaction is the gain for not only for the producer or the consumer, but even for the government also. Now, if you want to look at how much it will benefit in terms of quantitative value, I think a chartered accountant, those who are working on the GST, will be a better person to give you that estimate compared to an economist.
All right, got you. Okay, so Rajat, I think what the question on everybody's minds is, and maybe you could help us with that predicament here, is for everyday consumers, our viewers that are watching today, does reducing these slabs translate to more price stability and predictability? Is that an oversimplification? What does that really look like for us?
I think it is, in fact, a rate reduction is always welcome by the consumers. whenever you say that the rate of GST or a rate of tax has gone down from a certain percentage to certain percentage, it impacts the final price. So what you were buying for, let's say 118, let's say 100 was the price and 18 was the GST on that. And if that 18 now reduces to 5, then it becomes 105. And that is, I think, a big boost for the consumers. This will also lead to more and more consumers wanting to actually and this is more from a perspective of MSME. We've seen in the past that a lot of these transactions used to happen without an invoice on cash because there was a high rate of GST and nobody wanted to pay that. And that, I think, issue is going to be addressed to a large extent, which also might result in increase in collection somehow. So I think to counterbalance, what my learned friend on the panel was saying, that it might lead to reduction in the collections. I feel that it may not have that significant an impact on the collection because it would lead to more consumers wanting to pay the GST since the GST rates are lower. For instance, like on white goods, the GST rates, if it comes down from 28% to 18%, it will have a major impact, at least in tier 2, tier 3 cities, where consumers still most of the time prefer paying in cash and not taking an invoice. So now they will want to it will encourage them to pay and take an invoice and pay GST on that.
Excellent points, and I think very, very simply explained. I'm going to go to my colleague Varsha now, who's standing by. She's going to give us a breakup of the companies that are likely to benefit from this proposal if it actually becomes a reality, and what the sectors will look like and how that impact is actually going to play out. Varsha, over to you.
Well, thank you so much for that. Before that, on the all, this GST reforms, if I were to talk about, there may be a short-term dip in revenue expected, but impact, would be offset by higher consumption and, of course, better compliance going forward. Let's talk about, which are the items currently at 12% GST. You have, gas stoves, you have cheese, you have, jams, sprinkles, you have bicycles, candles, popcorn, umbrella, and coconut water, dry fruits, condensed milk, butter. All these items currently fall under 12%. Now, talking about the companies and sectors which all will be impacted positively or negatively, let's start with FMCG, which will have a positive impact because there will be a sales boost from 12% to 5% shift. And who will be the winners over here? If I were to talk about, you have HUL, you have Britannia, you have Nestle, Dabur, and Godrej Consumer Products, which will get benefited because of that volume increase. Moving on, there would also be a positive impact on consumer, or the shift from 28% to 18% will actually impact this white goods maker also. You have Havells, you have Voltas, you have Blue Star, Dixon Tech, Whirlpool Corporation, which will have a positive impact because of this shift from 28% to 18%, which will make the white goods more affordable. Also, there would be a positive impact on retail and e-commerce because cheaper goods, will actually lift sales. The winners over here would be, you have V-Mart Retail, you have Avenue Supermarts. All these companies will actually benefit from it. Also there will be a positive impact when it comes to labor-intensive sectors. Low rates, that is ranging from 0.1 to 0.5%, will support textile, gems, and jewelry segment. Over here, if you see Raymond Lifestyle, then Trident Group and Irwin Fashion are some of the companies which will, get benefited from this. Lastly, if I want to talk about the insurance companies, there will be positive impact for insurance companies as well because there will be major cuts which will be in health and term insurance is expected. Over here, you have LIC, you have HDFC Ergo, ICICI Prudential, SBI Life, and many other insurance companies which will actually get benefited. So overall, it's FMCG, it's white goods, and also insurance companies, or all these companies will be benefiting from this GST reforms.
Okay, FMCG, white goods, and insurance. Varsha, thanks so much for laying that out so simply. Very, very helpful. But stay with us. I'm actually going to go across to my colleague Yash, who's in Mumbai, and to break it down even more for what this actually means for the consumer, for you and me, and all of us curious to see what this new reform will look like. Yash is going to explain it to us from a Kirana store in Mumbai. Yash, over to you.
Well, absolutely, Sanjana. A lot of reforms were announced by PM Modi from the Red Fort yesterday on the 15th of August. Now, currently the GST slab on a butter cube is what, 12%, and it is speculated that it might get reduced to 5%, which will actually help boost a lot of FMCG companies who produce this product. Well, not just butter, a packet of ghee here is currently under the 12%. If you buy nuts, it's also under the same 12% slab, and all these nuts which you see right here, they're currently under the 12% slab right now. Well, the announcement came at a very good time on the 15th of August, and PM Modi said that it will get reduced by Diwali. Now, if you see, the festival season has already started coming in. Today is Janmashtami, and there are a lot of customers already in the shop currently who are buying, and this might actually increase the consumption. We have also here the shop owner, Mr. Pranay, who has joined us. Thank you for talking to NDTV Profit, sir. How do you think this move will help, as there's speculation that the GST slab might get reduced from 12% to 5%, and a lot of key products?
I think when the GST reduces, the overall price of the product also will reduce. It will help for basic items like you said, butter, ghee, and some other items also, and it will help the people having limited income. Save money also. Also, with that happening, as a shopkeeper, we also get a extra margin to work with, because once if the price is expensive, they might buy say 2 units. But if it's no, they have it, the price is less, then they might want to buy 3 of them. So the consumption habits also depend on the price. Also, electronics, I think electronics or apparels, something like this, or real estate for that matter, it will also boost the economy if the GST is reduced from 12 to 5. One of the major problems that we face is items which have 18% GST. So like say chocolates is there, bakery items are there. So the cost goes up by almost 20% in any product, and then creates a problem, because then we would love to sell those items, but the price is already very high. So it reduces the margin for us. Also with bulk purchases from customers, there's an issue that they have a limited budget to play with. Again, that is a problem. So then they order accordingly. It's like that.
So do you think this is a great move to boost consumptions ahead of the festive season, and are you seeing a good growth in the demand from the customers?
Yeah, I think it will take time, because India is a very big country, and this awareness also will come. Also, one thing is that prices are getting of many items have gone up because of shortage of raw materials. For example, chocolates is there, or say there are other things. For example, dry fruits are there because of the war, maybe of the shortage. They have gone up. The prices have gone shot up because of cocoa butter, cocoa, it's not available. Even cashews are there, or almonds are there. The price had gone up recently. So what happens is, this might offset the prices somewhat. It will get it down, and it will be a major relief for the customers in a long run. And maybe I'm not sure how this will pan out, but it will benefit the customers surely.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
That is what we are getting it from the ground, Sanjana, that PM Modi has announced this reform, which will bring in before Diwali, and the customers are quite excited, and the people are quite making up their shopping list ahead of the festive season. Back to the studio.
Thanks for that, Yash. And let's remember that this is a proposal that's currently with the GOM. It's likely to come up sometime in September and October. We also have our expert panel still with us. That's something that we've seen, that the government has also flagged. Another major reason for this 2.2 proposal is cracking down on fraud and plugging revenue leakages. Rajat, do the proposed tech-driven measures, like say an invoice matching, tighter IT integration, does it give tax authorities a real fighting chance to reduce GST fraud?
Yes, I think we've seen in the recent past, there have been major crackdowns on fraudulent ITC, and that's one of the reasons why the authorities are able to do that is because of increased scrutiny and tracking by using tech. But I think the game changer would be their proposed 3-tier structure for registrations. That's where I believe that they will be able to nip the problem in the bud itself if they can devise a mechanism where as they have proposed in the last in a December meeting, the GST Council meeting was also that you get a simplified way of getting a registration within 3 days, provided you don't avail more than 5 lakhs of input credit. Now that is something which will definitely go a long way in ensuring that there are these companies who are fly-by-night operators who just register to pass on credits. That can be stopped. So yes, I do believe that the government does have a good, very, very, very good opportunity to curb illegal credits.
And Devendra ji, if the system successfully plugs these leakages, how much fiscal space could we realistically open up for, the center and the states?
Look, Sanjana, it's anybody's guess because what we had seen last couple of years, there has been months where we had seen the good growth, but unfortunately, the data, the way it is reported, doesn't give us like how much is the growth because of increase in compliance and how much is growth because of the normal consumption. Now, the problem which we are facing right now, the economy and the consumption, your reporter talked about consumption. Yes, consumption depends on two things, the price and income. Now, if you look at any income, your category of employment, whether the urban wages, whether the non-BFSI corporate sectors and all those, the wage growth there has slowed down. Now, how much the slower price growth on section of our consumption, because these two groups, 12 and 18% put together, as I said, contribute close to 20% to the overall consumption. Now, in that, if there is a dip, right? Yes, because of the compliance, because of the administrative effort, plugging in the leakages, there will be a boost to the growth, to the GST collection. But how much of that will go into the reviving consumption? Yes, it's a positive move. It may have some impact, but looking at this as the only measure to boost the demand in the economy, and I think we have to wait and watch and see it how it pans out after the rates are announced.
All right. I think it's good to have this playing it safe approach as well, Devendra ji. And I think ultimately the big question, of course, remains about whether this proposed 2.0 and what it will mean for India's wider economic growth story. So, Rajat, will a cleaner, simpler GST framework improve India's attractiveness as a global investment destination?
It would. But the only problem is that, how it is executed at the ground level. Now, we have seen that there has been attempts in the past also to clean up the system, to make things easier, to make, the compliances simpler. But companies regularly face challenges at the ground level because there is lack of education or lack of training of the ground level officers how to deal with multinationals. The mindset has to change. The mindset of the officers at the ground level need to change. They need to sort of approach things with a more objective view. They cannot have pedantic views about things. They cannot have a preconceived notion that everybody is there to sort of evade taxes. If you have that kind of a notion already in your mind, then I don't think India can ever be an attractive investment destination for companies. So I think more than rolling out these schemes and creating this kind of a atmosphere that the government is doing things to simplify GST. I think what is needed is proper training at the ground level officers and they need to have those soft skills to deal with multinational companies, so that the multinational companies also feel that this is that the government is inviting them, and this is actually a good place to invest.
Absolutely. Devendra ji, from a macroeconomic perspective, could this 2.0 and this GST bonanza unlock a higher investment and consumer spending, or are they the most significant benefits more long term?
Look, Sanjana, it will be basically laying some foundation stone for the future growth. Any system which is keep on evolving itself, keep on government keeps on improving it, whether the compliance, whether the rate reduction, rationalization, or whatever. These are welcome steps. And this will see investment. The stable investment demand will not come until unless we have the stable consumption. So we have the consumption growth going all over the place. It may be 7-8% 1 year and 8-9% 1 year, and then comes down to 4.5 or 5%. Until unless the consumption demand stabilize, idle capacities are exhausted in the system, and we continue to have a stable export growth, then only will start the investment coming in. But yes, this is, one can't say that there will be no impact. There will be impact, but the impact will be whether the consumer, suppose as a consumer, I save 2,000 rupee in a month, or 5,000 rupee in a month in the GST. What I want to do with it, whether I want to put it in the savings, or whether I want to consume it, or I want to put in some sort of consumption. Everything will depend on that, because if it goes to the saving, it will reduce the interest rate, will have the positive impact on the interest rate in the economy. If it is consumed, the economy will benefit by the increase in consumption and some more tax collection coming from that.
All right, Rajat and Devendraji, thank you so much for your time and for a very simple but comprehensive breakup of what this actually means for consumers, what this means for India's growth story. And if executed well, this obviously promises a much, much simpler tax structure. Thanks so much for giving us this. The Centre's GST 2.0 proposal, now driven by the group of ministers led by Bihar Deputy Chief Minister Samrat Chaudhary, is more than just another tweak. It represents an opportunity to reset India's indirect tax system ahead of the GST Council meeting that's likely either September or October. We're going to be tracking all of that. So if executed well, it promises simpler tax slabs, faster refunds, and a stronger fight against fraud. So as India celebrates 78 years of independence, GST's real test is whether it can fulfill its original promise of being a good and simple tax. I'm Sanjana Chauhan. Thank you for joining this special discussion.